Welcome back to another edition of Tune In Economics, your aggregation station, your home for all things AP Macro. I'm your host, Elizabeth Salinas, and together with my partner in crime, Joel Hernandez, we are bringing you today's topic, which is the greatest macro hits of the 1980s. That's right, the 1980s was a decade that was known for more than just scrunchies and big hair. Some truly great rock anthems and a few less memorable economic theories got their start in this decade. Today we're crossing over to the other side, the supply side, and we're talking Reaganomics, aka trickle-down economics, the Laffer curve, because let's face it, we could all use a good laugh right now. And, wait for it, marginal tax rates, and the reason that so many economists are fascinated by this topic. The marginal tax rate is this idea that each of us earns a certain income, and as we earn more income, we are taxed at a greater tax rate. So that people that earn a higher income pay a higher percentage of their total income in taxes to the government. People with a lower income pay less to the government. This is a progressive tax system that supposedly our economy is organized on. And economist Art Laffer developed this curve, this idea where there is a trade-off between the tax rate and tax revenue. And what that means is at very high tax rates, there is not an optimal collection of tax revenue, but that there could be a lower tax rate that could optimize or maximize tax revenue collection by the government. So this was a very attractive theory to people inside government. And despite the curve being named for him, Laffer didn't actually come up with the idea. It dates back to the 14th century. The big idea behind the Laffer curve is that there is some ideal tax rate that would maximize tax revenue. He never says what it is, and nobody could really know what that rate is, but it's just a theoretical idea. So back in the 60s, when he was thinking about these ideas, the tax rate for the wealthiest individuals in the United States was about 70%. That in 1978, as his ideas came more into fashion, the capital gains tax in the United States was cut. And that provided a huge benefit to the rich. Capital gains is this idea that if you sell stock and make a quick turnover in money, if you sell real estate, you're going to pay taxes on that one-time gain. And cutting the capital gains tax rate is a move that will affect the rich and help the rich more than it will anybody else, people who are not able to invest in the stock market or real estate or things like that. Laffer also advised, aside from the Reagan administration, the Ford administration, he advised the Trump administration in 2017 on his tax cut. And now, since that tax cut, the 400 wealthiest Americans in the United States pay a tax rate of only 23%, a rate that is less than almost every other American. Now, that would not be a progressive tax rate system that we are under. That would be regressive because the poor would have a disproportionate burden of paying taxes. For his work, Trump awarded Arthur Laffer the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Well, the Laffer curve, like a lot of ideas in economics, there's only one game in town. Does it promote growth? In macroeconomics, we define growth traditionally as increasing GDP, lowering unemployment, and price stability or low uninflation. But how can you do that? How do countries promote growth? Well, they do it on the fiscal side through investment. Investing in human capital in things like education and worker training can make workers more productive and ramps up the economy. Investments in capital stock, which is like technology and the machinery that we use to make the things that we want and need, will also increase growth. On the monetary side, the monetarists promoted a rule that says the money supply should increase at the same rate as real GDP. That is to avoid inflation. And the supply side is mainly known for promoting growth through lowering the marginal tax rate. Well, the big question is, does supply side economics work? There is more than economic indicators to show how growth is in a nation. We can also look at income inequality. How are the rich doing in comparison to the poor? And for those numbers, what is very helpful is the Gini coefficient. The Gini coefficient is a number between 0 and 1, where 0 is everyone has the same proportion of income. 20% of the people make 20% of the total income pie. That is not exactly desirable either. And 1 is one person would make all the income. Now, we have seen since the 1970s income inequality in the United States growing at a significant and steady rate. So the rich are becoming richer. What implications does that have for the rest of us? One of the main ways that they're getting richer is through the tax system. The tax rate, as we said, is now less than half for wealthy Americans that it once was. And we've also seen a decline in things like, aside from capital gains taxes, estate taxes, and the corporate tax rate has also gone lower. This, of course, benefits the rich. We've seen over the last few weeks the vulnerability of a large percentage of our population with the COVID pandemic that we're going through. In the last 4 weeks, the 23 million Americans have applied for unemployment. And we also know that most Americans haven't saved up even $400 for an unexpected emergency. So we can imagine how many people are suffering under the situation that we're in right now. In the decades since the 1980s, the U.S. economy has been very efficient and there has been great gains in productivity. But as we can see from some of the results of the movement towards the supply side, that really it's only one side that's being benefited.